Growing Green for the Yuba is a program of the South Yuba River Citizens League. This work is paid for by the Rose Foundation for Communities and the Environment, the Central Valley Regional Water Quality Control Board, and with the support of the Nevada County Cannabis Alliance. The South Yuba River Citizens League is a watershed-based, nonprofit organization that serves to unite the community to protect and restore the Yuba River watershed. Our scientists and concerned community members recognize that the overuse of chemical pesticides and herbicides, diversion and storage of water, and alteration of the terrain and vegetation lead to pollution and algae blooms in our streams and rivers, the poisoning of wildlife, and the loss of late-season stream flow. Circle works to educate and inspire the community to engage in sustainable and ecologically sound cannabis cultivation in the Yuba watershed. This video shows how to build soil to retain and conserve water, reduce evaporation, and prevent runoff.
We are here in the Sierra Nevada foothills of Nevada County. Thank you, Krishna and Govinda, for having me here today.
We're here just outside of Nevada City, and we've got the Yuba River out in our backyard. We can actually walk to the river. Our main goals here are to be stewards of the land. We just have a small parcel here, and we feel like this is the one place on earth where we get to do our best to take care of it and preserve the natural environment.
It's extremely critical and important for us to be stewards of the land, stewards of the ecosystem, stewards of the watershed.
I grew up on an organic farm in BC, Canada. I grew up hearing the terms permaculture, Hugulkultur, organic all the time, and so being here is kind of a full circle for me, where I get to take what I learned as a child, and now I get to share that with my children.
How do you see your farm in the context of our ecosystem of the Yuba River watershed?
We swim in the river with our children all through the summer. You know, if we're using any chemical fertilizers and those are washing off into the watershed, those are going to be affecting us directly.
Today we want to talk about water. How do you ensure that your plants have adequate water without using too much?
The most important thing is starting with just paying attention, being there, having your hands and feet on the ground, really seeing what's happening in the soil, how it's absorbing water, how it's evaporating water, get an idea of what is actually happening there. And once you have that information, then you can make smart choices of how to adjust your watering.
How do you deal with changes in the weather?
We use a smart irrigation controller that is connected to the internet, downloads the weather every day, and gets the temperature, the humidity, and it will adjust the amount of water that is given to the plants based on the environmental conditions. So for instance, if there's a day where it is cooler and more humid, then the plants won't use as much water, there will be less evaporation. The system will automatically say, oh, we should give 50% less water today because of the changed environment.
How do you build your soil to retain water?
We start by using straw and hay and locally sourced manure, and we mix that with the local red clay. Also, it has a lot of silica in it, and the silica absorbs water and retains it.
When we're building the soil, we use all the different ingredients in layers, and so the finished product has a really wide range of consistencies and densities and space for retaining water.
In addition, we also mulch heavily. That prevents the water that's at the top from evaporating out into the air.
What is the biggest mistake you've made with water delivery?
We started with doing what I guess you maybe typically do here. Buy a bunch of soil from the store, put it in a smart pot above ground, and feed it a bunch of water, and then during the summer, the hot summer days, all that water is just evaporating off.
not only was our water evaporating too fast, that our plants were less healthy because the root systems were not getting the water that they needed to stay moist. And so we've been able to mitigate that by going back and growing underground, and now we don't lose all that water and our roots are staying healthy.
I hear the soils around here drain slowly. How do you all deal with that?
With all the mulch and layering that we're doing underground, we have to make sure that the plants are getting enough air and aeration so that it doesn't become super soggy.
It's easy to get an anaerobic environment where there's little oxygen, and anaerobic bacteria will like to thrive, and that can cause many problems for the plants. Really what we're farming here is not actually the cannabis, but the microbes in the soil and the fungus in the soil. So we have to create the perfect environment.
We have these corrugated pipes that go throughout the garden that have holes in them and bring air down into the soil, and we've gone through and poked holes manually into the soil so that there's a lot of air access into the soil. So while we don't want it to evaporate, we also don't want it to be soggy either. So we have to find that balance of adequate water and adequate air.
Pests are often a huge problem for farmers. How do you all protect your plants?
There's the concept of integrated pest management. We have to really look at the whole ecosystem and all the different things that we're doing, and how can we bring it all together to make an environment that's happy for the bugs, that's happy for the plants, and that's happy for the soil.
We try to copy and do what nature does, create a diverse environment. We grow a variety of cannabis strains so that there's no monoculture there, and then also bringing in a bunch of other types of plants. We use a seed blend called the Good Bug Blend that has legumes, clovers, flowers, radishes, all sorts of different plants that we spread the seeds all through the garden and around the garden so that we have a real variety of plants that grow, which basically invites more beneficial bugs into the environment. And so when we have a pest like mites or something like that that can get out of control, we also invite these bigger bugs that help keep everything in balance, and the bug world kind of takes care of itself.
Thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you learned a lot. I know I did. If you'd like to learn more, please visit yubariver.org.